obviously Kurt and Gary getting through a whole game last week gives you you're in a bit of different spot. You got a few guys to pick from this week.
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, Kurt didn't quite get to the end of the game last week. He pulled up in the last quarter, and that's the reason why we played him in the reserves, is to be able to have the ability to be able to do that. It would have been difficult for him to do that in the seniors. He played really well, and we managed him in the last quarter. Gary played the entire game and has pulled up really well, and we'll see how Dane Rampy goes today. And he trained Tuesday, and we'll see how he runs around today.
An embarrassment of riches the way this season's been going for you so far.
We've still got to get through another training session, and there's no guarantees. So we're mindful of that, but it is good to have some players back. And obviously Kieran's not available this week, but hopefully he gets towards that way next week.
You're saying Kurt didn't do the whole game. Is he done enough to make himself available?
Well, certainly if he trains today, he has. Yeah, because he was able to get just under 4 quarters, 3.5 quarters of pretty solid work in last week. So he's certainly done more than what he'd done this time last week. So he's available. Obviously Jared McVeigh's not as well, so he's out. So you hopefully pick up a couple, but you're always in that mix when you lose a couple as well.
Ollie Florent got a rest. Will he come back through the NEFL?
We're not sure. Depends on how the other guys go. So we'll see how that training session goes with Tippett and Rampy, Rowan, those guys, before we make a decision with Ollie. We just rested him last week. I think it'll do him the world of good to be able to rest him and freshen him up. And if we decide to bring him back in the seniors, I'm sure he'll be feeling good about himself.
Has he done much contact work, or is it just going to be him dealing with a bit of pain, whether he plays or not? Or?
He's done some contact work. He's been running a lot, and he's did some contact work. He's done some contact work this week. He'll step that up again today. So, and we'll see how he goes. We didn't want to rule him in or out at the start of the week. We wanted to make sure we make the decision with all the facts in front of us, and we've still got that session to go, and he'll ramp up the competitive work and see how he goes.
So you haven't tested him on the footpath out the front, have you?
No, we've got a please don't jump on over chains, an even low change sign at the front of the office and in the change rooms to make sure that doesn't happen again.
John, the average Swans fan is saying we can make the finals. We've got a great team from here on in. Will we know a lot more after this week, given where St Kilda's at?
I haven't had that on my radar just yet, because we've got other things to work through, and that's making sure that we keep playing well. That's our main focus. Whether we're playing really well at the top of the ladder or where we've been this year, we don't really look too far ahead. It's not something that we focus on too much. It's for people probably outside to look at. Internally, we just make sure we pick the most competitive team we can and go about our business against the Saints this week. There's no question they're one of the form teams in the competition. We played them in the pre-season. They play a fantastic brand of footy, and they're one of the better teams going around. So it'll be a massive test for us.
Okay, so finals aside though, just going up against the Saints, a step up from Brisbane and North Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, North Melbourne were in good form. They'd been in good form up until last week when we were able to get up. We believe that St Kilda are as good a team as going around at the moment, and they'll take some real handling, and we look forward to the challenge that presents before us on Saturday.
2 trips to Melbourne in 2 weeks, plus a short turnaround. How does that affect your preparation?
Yeah, it's just part of modern day football now, is that you've got to get used to doing things a little bit differently. It's not the traditional Saturday to Saturday games. You're going to have a couple on the road, you're going to have different preparations, and our players, as in all players across the competition now, they just get used to it, and our conditioning guys are pretty good at making sure they manage that, and we'll do it like every other team does it.
You would have heard the news about Greg Inglis, and no 2 situations are always identical, but you had a situation with Lance Franklin. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, first of all, I don't want to comment on Greg's situation specifically because it's not my role and I don't know enough about it. And you're right, no 2 situations are the same. But it just highlights that in society, in sport, we just need to be aware of mental health issues. And I've got no doubt now society is much more equipped, and particularly sporting clubs, to be able to deal with those challenges. and players receive an incredible amount of support now. And if you're a young person in an environment of a sporting club, I think you're going to be well looked after in regards to that.
To see the way Lance has played after he had his period out of the game, that must give you, knowledge that you did the right thing at the right time.
Well, all you can do is act according to the facts in front of you at the time, and that's what we did at that particular time, and I'm sure that's what South are doing now. It's just a matter of dealing with the facts that present themselves, and the number one priority is always a person's health, and it doesn't matter whether they're a footballer or not. Their health is always the number one priority, either their mental health or their physical health, and I think that's where football clubs in general, all codes, are very good at looking after the health of the person.
How's Elliot tracking?
Pretty good, yeah. He played quite well last week. We had a big win, so it's always a bit harder to assess the key defenders when you have a big win. But he did what he could do, and he certainly played well. So he's put himself up in that selection mix as well. We look at who the Saints might bring in. We obviously, whether Dane plays or not, all those things come into consideration in regards to whether we select Aaliyah or not. But he certainly played quite well last week.
And the fact that they've got, I think they're playing McCartan and got rid of Bruce, but they've still got some talls down there. Does that count in his favour if Dane doesn't?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously we have to wait until we see what their team looks like. Marsh and Melican have done pretty good jobs for us over the last few weeks. Grundy, obviously. So we feel as though we've got a couple of young defenders that are coming through okay. And Ali is certainly one of those. And what the team looks like and the mix looks like together, it worked for us last week. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for us this week. But, certainly we know what he's best is able to do, and we'll make that decision up depending upon Dane and what the team looks like.
Apart from the tools, they've got a lot of little whippet, small forwards. Zach Jones has been really good in the midfield, but is he one you might have to look at to go back?
Maybe, but he gives us some great drive and run. I mean, they're a very good running team, the Saints, and he gives us some great run through the midfield. Obviously, we'll lose McVeigh out of that half-back line, but we lost him pretty early last week anyway, and it's something we'd have to consider. Their smalls, Billings kicked goals last week and was really dangerous, and their smalls are as good as any going around. So it's a consideration for us. Whether we make that call or not will probably depend upon how the game's going.
Just one on Tim Member. Was it hard to let him go a couple of years ago? Did you always know he'd be capable of playing this sort of football?
Yeah, we knew that Tim would be a pretty good player. We offered him a contract to stay, but we couldn't guarantee him a game at that particular point. And he's a ripping young bloke, Tim, and we would have liked to have kept him, but we couldn't guarantee him a senior spot. So in the end, he goes to another club and plays regular senior football. It's not a surprise to us because he's a quality young bloke and he's pretty talented. So good luck to him. I just hope he doesn't play as well this week.